What's up, guys? Welcome back to another review. This time I'm going to be covering Malcolm X, starring Denzel Washington, directed by Spike Lee. I'm just going to give a very quick review of this thing. I'm not going to go too heavily into it. I'm going to cover just like the basics and strong points. This movie is fantastic. This is one of the best autobiographical movies I've ever seen. Denzel Washington does a mesmerizing, captivating performance as Malcolm X. He plays the part so well that he loses himself into the role, and it's to the point where you're not seeing Denzel on screen, you're seeing Malcolm X on screen. That's how captivating and mesmerizing the performance is. And you can clearly tell that he is relishing in this part, that he's taking it 100% seriously. And as someone who admires the art, the method of acting, it is joyful to see an actor take material that they believe in and hit it out of the park. And in my opinion, Denzel Washington hit a grand slam with this role. Absolutely kills it as Malcolm X. His other supporting players, they also played their parts very well. Angela Bassett plays Betty Shabazz, Malcolm X's wife. She does a very, very understated job. She is really good in this movie, and I like the chemistry between her and Denzel Washington. I buy the romance. I buy that they believe in what they believe in. When they eventually get married, have kids, the family starts to get harassed, and I believe in the fear that is in her voice. I believe in the fear that's in her eyes, and the uncertainty at times in her voice. But she continues to stand by this man because she believes in him, and she believes that what he's doing is absolutely right and necessary. Great performance, very understated performance. It's very nuanced. You got to really pay attention to the dialogue and the way she reacts with him to really understand what I just said. Perfect. Well done. Well done. Well done. Well done. Of course, this movie covers every single aspect of Malcolm X's life. We see his humble beginnings from childhood, where born to a preacher father and a mixed mother. They live in just incredibly harsh, just cruel times, man. We see him and his family get constantly harassed by Klansmen. They burn down the house. They pretty much murder his father, and it's covered up as an accident. We see him as just a low-level hoodlum gangster thug, who, if he would have died in the street, would just be another dead black man. We see his mentor. We see him go under the tutelage of the West Indian Archie, who was one of the big gangsters in Harlem. He was one of the big gangsters that he pretty much, inspires to be like. And we see like their mentor, we see their relationship blossom for the first half of the movie, and then we see it break down completely, and we see Malcolm X go to Detroit, commit robbery, go to jail. While in jail, he meets a character called Baines, and Baines introduces him to the Nation of Islam and the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. And it was at that moment he had that spiritual awakening where, quote unquote, his slave name, to where he abandoned his slave name of Malcolm Little and adapted his real name, Malcolm X. One of the great civil rights leaders of any generation, one of the best talkers and speakers you'll probably ever hear. The man, Malcolm X, was one of the best talkers I've ever heard. The way this man would use his words, and the way he would present himself, and that raw intelligence that he possessed, and how he was able to use that intelligence to get his message across, to get his words across. This man could lead people into a blitzkrieg with pitchforks and torches. That's how good of a speaker he really was, and that's how much people believed in him. Very rare you actually have someone who can make people believe in what they're saying because that they believe what they're saying. It's mesmerizing. It's really, really, Malcolm X is a very fascinating man. A very, very fascinating man. And this movie, to me, did his story justice. And it did not present him as an angel. It didn't present him as a deity. He did bad shit in his early life, And he went through horrible shit in his early life. Right? And you see how that affects him throughout the course of this movie, and how he abandoned his gangster life, and that raw untapped intelligence that he possessed were just going to waste in that world. But when he finally gets released from prison and joins the Nation of Islam and meets Elijah Muhammad, that intelligence finally blossomed, and now he's getting his message across. He's getting his point across. Now he's trying to make a difference for his people. Finally, a man who always had an untapped intelligence, that intelligence is now being spread throughout his community. And you're seeing just how passionate he is about his ideals and how people are just mesmerized by his ideals. This is during a time where racial segregation was at its worst. The division between white and blacks was outstandingly bad, and the hatred that whites had for the blacks was just you can't comprehend how one group of people could hate another group of people so much, and for what? Why do you hate these people so much? What did they do to you that you hate them? That's the question that I have. What did they do to you that you hate them so? Because what I just see people like me trying to live an honest life, trying to live their life, trying to have a family, trying to work for a living, trying to attain goals for a living. And you have this jealous group of people who can't stand to see people who are not like them achieve success. What kind of mentality was that? What kind of way of thinking is that? And that is what Malcolm X, the man, was getting across, pretty much. That's what the message, that's what the underline of his message was, pretty much, when you actually sit back, hear it, and examine it. Very, very nuanced speaker Mr. Malcolm X was. I admire the man. I really do admire the man. The man he's a very fascinating man, and his history is just fascinating, especially when you get to the later parts of his life. Let's get back to the movie. Well, actually, no, that isn't the movie, because a lot of those speeches that the man made are reenacted in this movie, and they're just mesmerizing to look at. The attention to detail this movie has is outstanding. It's perfect. Now, another thing I love about this movie is the production design of this movie is beautiful. Spike Lee really captures the decades that Malcolm X lived in, and the sets look authentic, the costumes look of the era, the vehicles look of the era. The production design of this movie is beautiful. The cinematography by Ernest Dickerson is visually stunning to look at. Spike Lee and Dickerson really capture, the 40s, 50s, and 60s to a T. Done beautifully. The authenticity is outstanding to look at. It feels like you're watching a documentary than you are a movie. That's how beautiful and well done this is. And like I said, a lot of the acting in this movie all across the board is top notch, A+. Production value is top notch and A+. The character relationships, they work for me. Covering every single aspect, almost every major aspect of this man's life, up until the assassination, is all handled with great care. It's all handled with a lot of respect. Like I said, they didn't change any events, and like I said, they didn't present this man as an angel. All right, you saw every aspect of him. You see the untapped raw intelligence he has at the beginning of the movie. Then you see the intelligence be tapped, but now it's being tapped for someone else's gain. And then when you see him do that pilgrimage to Mecca, and you see how he interacted with people while in Mecca, during that pilgrimage, and you see how every single race and every single background was accepted with open arms, from whites to Asians, from blacks to Indians. Once they go to Mecca, they are a brotherhood. You're all one and accepted. And you see that, and you see how that affected him, and how that added a different wrinkle now to his cause, because he experienced a positive thing. He experienced being welcomed and accepted by a brotherhood, and not just a brotherhood, legitimate brotherhood. People legitimately being generous and kind and welcoming to you and friendly to you, forming a bond. You see how that affected him when he came back to the States, and of course, those events led him to break away from the Nation of Islam, which eventually led to his assassination back in 1965. And again, all that is handled with great care. Well, I don't think I gave this movie any justice with this review, to be honest with you. I just gave you my raw, bare bones thoughts, and I hope I gave it justice. I hope I gave this movie justice. I hope my opinions came across as making sense. Like I said, this is a damn good movie. I've only seen it once. I've never seen it more than once, and as a first viewing, definitely plan on rewatching it multiple times more, because the movie is really that damn good. But as an overall grade, I gotta give it a 10. This movie does everything I like when it comes to autobiographical movies. It handles the material with great care. It shows the real life historical figure the respect he deserves. It does not try to make him out to be a martyr. You see his negative sides, you see his positive sides. And that's what a good autobiographical movie does. You get the negatives and you get the positives. One does not outweigh the other when you're doing about historical figures. Every historical figure out there who did positive also did a lot of negative. That's just the way it is. That's just the way people are. That's the way the world works. And this movie does that with great care, and it's very memorable. The performances are top-notch and electric. Again, it earns the 10 out of 10 rating. It's a rating that I don't give out that often. But this movie sure as hell deserves it. So, if you've never seen this movie, you owe it to yourself to see this movie, because you're really missing out on something really, really special. Anyway, my name is AG Legend. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll check you back next time for more.